In 1993, 94, there was a song that came out and a duo that changed my life forever. Some of you are too young for this, but there was an artist that popped on the scene, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Dre had been around for a long time. Snoop came out, Nothing But a G Thing dropped, Chris. Well, in the real estate space in 2014, I met the Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg of real estate, also known as Chris Smith and Jimmy Mackin with at the time with Curaytor. And it was good to see Chris on here too. So we've got Jimmy with us. Jimmy, I don't know if you're in Boston. He's based out of Boston. They've done, and Jimmy's done everything. I mean, they've written books, they've built successful businesses and exited. They're now very heavily. It's been cool to see them adopting the latest trends and technologies in real estate. I mean, I remember when Jimmy and Chris were getting up and going like, guys, you got to get on Facebook. And now like we're so far from there, and they're doing cool stuff with Ella and listing leads. And so, Jimmy, welcome back to Rocket Fuel. You've been here before. We're always so grateful to have you on and excited for today.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words, Joe. It's funny as you were saying that, one of the things that what could be interesting for us to talk about is the difference between kind of first time founders and second time founders, which is to say that this idea that as when Chris and I started our business, which was now closing in on 15 years ago, we were truly first time founders. And when you're a first time founder, you make a lot of mistakes that are easily avoidable. You operate with sort of these established beliefs that tend to not be true, and you make things much harder for yourself. And when you sort of become a second time founder, and this is true, if you follow most of the successful entrepreneurs out there, you realize that their big hits are very rarely their first company. It's almost always their second or third or fourth company. They usually have a long list of companies they tried, built, had some success, maybe failed, but it's usually the second or third that actually ends up being something special. And the reason I bring that up is because I actually think in many cases that's true for agents as well, which is to say that I think agents, there are certain people that I see who operate their business with what I would refer to as a second time founder mindset and approach versus like kind of like being stuck. And you could be in the business for 15, 20 years and still have that first time founder sort of mindset. And I think of you and Taylor specifically. And I think about the way you guys run your business today. And I'd love for you to share a little bit of this, Joe, like how you guys run your business today versus how you guys used to run your business back in 2013, 2014, and beyond. Because obviously you guys have gone through a couple cycles here, but there's things you guys do differently today than you did even in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something about I love that you said that because the market necessitates us being second, third, fourth time founders, right? Like it,
Sure.
even if we're in the same space and we haven't recreated entities or brands, we have to evolve or else the market will pass us by. Like I was barely in real estate for like the pizza box, like basketball team calendar. That was like the main source of leads and return and repeat business
Hmm.
for clients. And then we were with you guys at Curaytor when we got into the Facebook game and things like that. Taylor and I had a moment, and I'm sure you and Chris have as well. And I'm sure a lot of the agents on this call have had moments where they've turned to either their business partner or their life partner or their spouse, whatever, and just said, what I'm doing is not fulfilling me. And Taylor and I had that moment in like 2018 where I went to him and I was like, bro, this game that we're playing isn't working for me. And he's like, yeah, me neither. And so then we
Hmm.
we split our business up into fours. Taylor runs two aspects of it. I run the other two aspects of it. And now call it necessity or being blessed or whatever. Like I've recreated myself to where the only business I operate is the business I enjoy. Like I'm
Sure.
stoked to be on here right now. And this fuels my business. And
Hmm.
so, anyways, I love that you said that because Jimmy, I'm sure you would say, no one, if you've been in the business for more than 10 years, you are no longer in Kansas and you can no longer be Dorothy. Like whatever you
Hmm.
were doing 10 years ago it has to, by necessity, it's forcing you to be a second, third, fourth time builder.
I think this
Yeah.
also, can I say one
Oh,
thing, Jimmy?
please.
Well, just to tag on to what Joe is saying, because I literally just hit post like 10 minutes before Rocket Fuel started on this exact topic as it relates to building a real estate team or an independent brokerage in our industry, because there are things that the industry has preached for years on how you need to scale and how you need to grow your business or your team, and
Yeah.
it doesn't always fit. And there's been so many iterations of that, and like I realized about of like 3 or 4 years ago that I was like, this isn't working for me. This is not what's fitting and how I want to build. And so United is actually hosting a webinar and an implementation workshop on that exact topic on April 22nd. And I think I
Yeah.
just wanted to mention that because United is all about helping agents and team leaders in our industry, regardless of brand or brokerage, so that you can really thrive in what you're doing. And that looks different for everybody. We don't have to do this the cookie cutter way that they've preached for years. Like, this is how you have to build it. There's so many ways to do it. So anyways,
So,
I just
so
I get
Jimmy,
it.
on that topic, how do you
Mhm.
balance between that kind of Steve Jobs mentality of I build what I know people will want, even if they themselves don't know it yet? Like,
Sure.
how do you just stay committed to like I've been on this grind, I'm going to stay on this grind, versus like shifting, reiterating, coming up with a new concept? Like, how have you found in your business, like, I'm going to stick to this, or okay, sticking to this would actually wreck me. I'm gonna evolve.
Well, just real quickly to answer that question, I want to just say one thing. A lot of team leaders would be a lot happier as solo agents if they can just get over their ego. And
Mm.
what happens right now in our industry is, to your point, Amy, we all are worshiping at the altar of production, not profit. And we have convinced ourselves that if we hit a certain level of production, maybe eventually somebody will love us. And the reality is, the reality is, like, I will tell you, like, that dog does not hunt. And I have talked to so many team
Yeah,
leaders who
really.
have built it up just to burn it down, just to be in a better spot. And so I think from my perspective, I think there's a certain, like, life gets a little easier when you start being honest with yourself. you know, uh, Speaking about the businesses that I'm building, Joe, I think the first business that I built, I was in a position where I was, more driven by the needs of the business than what I wanted to work on per se. And so, the thing that Chris and I have in common is we both have incredible ambition, but also we have like a blue collar mindset in terms of getting the job done. And I think a lot of people in the entrepreneur space, like, they like to cosplay as entrepreneurs. They like to talk about OKRs and strategy. They like to talk about big picture changes, like trends that are happening, but they actually won't do the work. And so I think in many ways that there's that aspect of it. But in terms of your question, like, when to stay the course versus when to shift, I'll tell you guys a secret. This is something I learned the last few years that has helped me build kind of the second round of businesses that I'm building. Because I have a goal. I've made this public to a few friends. I want to own 50 companies by the time I'm 50. It's 50 and 50. That's my goal. Right now I've got four. Right. I got now about 9.5 years to go, and my goal is to get to 50. And I'll tell you one of the things that I learned about finding success early, and that is, the market does not have feelings. Whatever your idea is to grow your business, whatever your plan is to grow your business, you got to get it out into production as fast as humanly possible so it can interface with customers. If you got a great marketing campaign that you're going to basically launch to get customers to see, like, try to get people to respond to it. If you're building a new website, you want to basically establish a brand presence. If you want to get big on YouTube, whatever the tactic is, like, the number one the determining factor of a company's success is speed. Everything else is second. It is speed alone. And this offends some type A personality people because they like to plan things, Joe. They like to
Mhm.
organize it into their BHAGs, and they like to break it down to quarterly goals. They like to sort of work backwards from there to say, this is what I have to do every single day. But, like, speed is the thing. Because what happens with speed is two things. Either number one, you release something, you launch something, you build something, and the market loves it, and now okay, more of that. Or You get it into the market and nobody responds. Nobody even notices. No one actually does anything with it. Now you got to go back to the lab and say, how do I reposition this thing, repackage, retool this thing? You just want to get there faster. And
Which
go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, in today's economy, it doesn't take. I mean, think about back in the day, creating commercials, creating snail mail campaigns, printing out postcards and sending them out. You wouldn't know how the market receives it for 2 weeks, sometimes a month. And like my son plays highly competitive golf. And I've said to him
Hmm.
so many times, it's funny you said that, like golf balls don't have feelings, because he'll hit
Yeah,
shots and he'll go like, that was supposed to do this and this and this. He's like mad at the golf ball. I'm like, bro, it's not the golf ball's fault, right? And so like there's so much of that where like anyone who creates any content, like I've
sure.
created things that I'm like, bro, this is gonna blow up. And I post
Hmm.
it and no one gives a F. And like I can't
Hmm.
get mad at it. I can't get mad at the market. I can't get mad. All I can do is go, oh, okay, let me really quickly try something else and see how people
Yeah,
receive it. Try something else and see how people. So it's almost a blessing, Jimmy, the world we live in right now, that if we are creating content, if we are deploying strategy, the faster we can know if it works or not isn't something to be upset about. It's actually something to
sure.
celebrate.
Well, on that same topic, let's talk about sort of what's happening what I'm paying attention to right now in business, which is like there is a reckoning coming for us in real estate, but not the one that we think. I hear all the time, it's the agent who adopts AI who will be more successful than the agent who doesn't adopt AI. Like you've heard that kind of be promoted across social media. And on the surface, sure, it makes sense. There are plenty of like you can put your head in the sand right now and just do the basics and you can build a great business. Okay. Here's the real risk. The real risk is you are going to it's going to become harder and more expensive to serve it, to find customers and to service those customers. And as a result, you can do and you guys probably all can feel this. Okay. You could all probably feel this, which is you feel like, I'll tell you the feeling, Joe. You feel like you're working twice as hard to make the same amount of money. And if you've ever had that feeling where you feel like you're working like as hard to make the same amount of money, then what has happened is there's a part of your business, the operations of your business, that is just inefficient. That's just slowing things down. And so the reckoning that's coming to real estate right now is this, Joe. And just I want you guys to follow this logic because this is important. And by the way, no one's talking about this. This is happening outside of real estate, but this is certainly coming to our industry. If I can service my customers at a lower cost and deliver a better experience, I will be able to make more profit. If I make more profit, I can reinvest those earnings into brand, into marketing, into sales. As a result, I can get my name, face, and brand in front of more people and then service those people in such a way at a profitable rate. And so I'm able to actually generate more profit and then reinvest those profits into the growth of my business at a rate that would be impossible for my competition. And so this is happening right now outside of real estate, like in the technology space where I tend to operate. Like you're seeing the great disruption of like what you consider to be the SaaS industry, where the idea that we pay as agents like $1,500 a month for a CRM is insanity in 2026. The fact that you're paying like $10, $15 per seat is insanity. So you see companies like Salesforce who are now under pressure from these upstarts who are building incredibly low cost software that does basically the job of the CRM in a simpler, more efficient way. What I'm saying is the same transformation that's happening to the software industry is now actually going to be happening to businesses in general. So, example of this, Toby from Shopify said, before you hire a person, hire AI. Okay. So if you think about traditionally, Joe, the structure of a team would usually have a marketing assistant, an admin, right? Maybe a TC or two. Maybe you'd be outsourcing to some VAs, and then you have your team lead and your buyer's agents, and maybe you hire a sales manager. You've got all this sort of operational weight that you have to have in place to support the production. Well, if you're smart, your operational costs should be dropping significantly to produce more income. And if you are doing that, you can reinvest your earnings into growth. And like like if you look at the brokerage space, Joe, good example. You ran a brokerage. What was your profit margin when you ran your brokerage before you made the jump over real?
Yeah. Uh, of gross commissions,
Yeah.
I think like 2 to 5%, maybe.
So it would be impossible for you to reinvest your earnings back into growing the brokerage because you had no earnings, right? Like reality,
Yeah, it was
you have
impossible. Yeah,
you have a bad month, that 2% gets evaporated. So
right.
the point being is that if you can stop thinking about AI to basically like stop worrying about like building these crazy ass NAN workflows to do tasks you never wanted to do before in your entire life. Stop falling in love with this idea of like, how do I use OpenClaw? No, no, no. Think about just how do you systematically use AI to streamline your existing business, just the things you're doing today, so that you can do them at a lower cost with
Right.
fewer people to generate more profits. That's the way to think about it.
That's
So
the game.
that is the game right now. And too many people, Joe, are so obsessed on what can AI do that we don't do today. But the real question is like look at it through the lens of like, what am I doing today that I can automate through AI? That's how at least we're thinking about it at our companies, is like that those are the areas we're focused on.
Yeah. So Jimmy, you've said this a few times. I just want you to dive a little bit deeper. I love that profits over production. Um, you and I know that if you look at real trends, of the top 10 teams in every state, maybe two or three of them make money. And of the ones that
Mm,
make money, it largely comes from the team leader's personal production.
sure.
So what are you seeing teams that are succeeding in this game right now? What are they doing differently to increase profitability? Where I mean, the fugazi, to borrow a term from Donnie Brasco, the fugazi of like teams doing 400 units and then talking to the team leader and going like, bro, how's it going financially? They're like, I'm going broke. It's like,
Sure.
what are the ones that are succeeding actually doing?
It's this is age old business advice that for some reason we sort of forgot. Listen, I'm going to get in trouble with this, but I see the thing that really bugs the shit out of me, Joe, is when I see people posting on social media about how posting on social media doesn't create business. You know, Buffini was doing this the other day because like there's this famous Gary Vee quote who comes out here. He's like, Gary's like, you should spend 50% of your time creating content if you're a real estate agent. And then Buffini reacts saying, hey, like, that like spend 50% of your time basically posting as a way to go broke. Now it's as if these people don't
I
understand.
saw Chris post about this. Chris posted both and said, which one do you believe, basically?
Yeah, I saw
I
that
can see
too.
which one Chris believes, which is like the reality is like, so you're posting on social media to tell people that they shouldn't be posting on social media. Now, let's be really clear. Like, I don't disagree with what Buffini's saying, which is like if you're in a position right now where you're like spending too much time on marketing and not on sales, then it's a very fast way to become broke. But here's the reality is that it doesn't make it's a stupid question to begin with. The question is, what is the way how can I get the lowest cost to acquire a customer? Right? That is it. I don't give a shit if it's social media, if it's direct mail, if it's YouTube, if it's Facebook. I don't care. It's the only question is how can I drive down my cost to acquire a customer?
So, Jimmy,
Period.
most agents that post, the challenge is, and maybe where Buffini's coming from, is you see
Sure.
there's times when and my wife is gorgeous and whatever. There's times when I could tell that she got dressed because other girls are going to tell her, oh my gosh, she looks so cute. And like there's so many times when agents are posting and then what they get is love from a bunch of agents like, bro, this is so good. And in reality, like you're tricking yourself because you think something's popping off when your
Sure.
ideal. So what you're saying is agents, whether it's you're trying to get your first deal or your thousandth deal, what the industry thinks about what you're doing is irrelevant. The game here is actually acquiring customers. And so often we get caught up like getting pats on the back from other agents thinking we did something
Sure.
great. And they're not our avatar. They're
Sure.
not who we're going after.
No, Naval, the great Naval has a line on this. he goes, the mistake early entrepreneurs make is they try to figure out how to network. And maybe someone could find the quote for me. It's Naval, Naval. He goes, what you should do instead, he goes, just do the work and the network appears. If you do good work, the network appears. You don't have to network. You should not be trying to get an Inman Award or a BAMI Award for your content, right? Like that's not the goal here. Just do the work and then the network appears. Now, here's what I'd say on this topic. The way to think about this, and now here's the argument why social media actually, and it's listen, this is not my opinion, this is just a fact. It's basic 101 on marketing. And this is actually, if you were to say, Jimmy, now that everything's becoming cheaper, everything's becoming easier, everything's getting faster, where's the alpha, right? So Joe's asking me, where's the alpha, Jimmy? Where's the alpha in that world in a world where AI can help facilitate so many of our backend operations, AI can help create marketing campaigns for us, AI tools can help us speed up our efficiency and deliver better experience. Where is the alpha? Well, the alpha, and anyone with any brain cells will agree with me on this, is the alpha is distribution. Period. It's the secret to marketing that I wish I knew. And a great example of this, if you go back to Slack, for the first sort of 3 or 4 years in their business, Slack basically there was zero competition. And it became the darling on Silicon Valley. It became the fastest growing sort of company to reach, I think, like a million paying customers, crazy revenue numbers. Okay, about 4 years into their business, and you guys can look at this. Look at the chart, the growth chart. About 4 years into their business, Microsoft, right, entered into the space with Microsoft Teams. Now you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that said Microsoft Teams was better than Slack. Okay, it was a bad copycat clone to Slack. And of course, it's Microsoft, so it's like even harder to use in every sense of the word. And if you look at what happened, yeah, Salika is saying, I hate Teams, it sucks. Guess what? Right? Everyone hates Teams. Everyone hates Microsoft products. Yet, despite the fact, Microsoft had something Slack thought they had but didn't have. They had distribution. And so Slack famously came out with and we could drop the article in the chat. Someone find it for me. They came up with this super passive aggressive article. I could just like envision it, Joe, where like a bunch of copywriters and marketing people like me in San Francisco sitting around drinking their matcha teas are like, let's come up with let's respond to the whole Microsoft Teams things. So they come up with this article, which is basically like, hey, Microsoft, welcome to the game. And like, we're so glad you're here. And they actually ran a full page ad in the New York Times for this. If you look at their growth, since the day they ran that ad, right, which was like, hey, we welcome the competition, Microsoft Teams basically added like their entire customer base within 6 months and absolutely shot to the moon. Microsoft Teams now is being used by 200 million people, whereas Slack basically turned into more or less like a shelf, like an enter staircase. And they go, listen, didn't end bad for Slack. They got acquired for like $6 billion by Salesforce. But the story is that you could have a worse product that people don't want and don't like, but if you got distribution, you will crush the competition. And this is what's happening right now in real estate. A okay agent with great distribution will kill a great agent with no distribution. Think about that for a second.
Define distribution as it comes to like if there's someone on this call who's like, I'm doing 14 units a year, I want to get to 25. What is it? Sure. Define distribution.
Think about distribution in terms of your audience. So how many people are following you on social media and how many people are engaging with your content on a weekly basis, monthly basis? Think about YouTube. How many subscribers do you have? How many views are you getting? What's the watch time of that? So distribution is I would refer to it as your engaged audience, not just your overall audience. So Joe, if I have a farm that I've been farming, let's say for 24 months, I've got some distribution there. They know right. I got some brand recognition there. They know who I am. And so I would think about it in terms of your text message list. You have a double opt-in text message list, your email list, Your followers on Instagram, your subscribers on YouTube, right? Your like engaged arm, the people who are your website traffic. These are all like your distribution channels. It all kind of equals your engaged audience. Now, here's what people who are anti social media don't get about social media. And this is the thing that's just like, if they just slow down for a second and they just put aside their biases and they stop trying to be a contrarian for the sake of being contrarian, and they just looked at it
like the green text message bubble people. No offense to anyone who's not on an iPhone, but it's like for the right now,
yeah,
Jimmy, if someone's not on an iPhone, they're just doing it to be a contrarian. Like, bro,
they
get enough.
we're gonna lose some of the we're gonna lose about two people right, on this call right now. Right? Okay, so like so so if you just take a step back, right? Because we all have these biases. The reality is that if I've got 15,000 subscribers on YouTube that I have, let's say, acquired through posting a lot on YouTube and spending my time creating content. Well, when I post a video, that video might get 3 to 5,000 views. Okay. Well, here's the thing. The time it took me to produce and post that video 2 years ago when I had 10 subscribers is the exact same amount of time it takes me to create and post that video today. The difference is because I have amassed this sort of distribution channel, my content now is getting in front of a lot more people with no additional effort and no additional cost. So in the absence of building a brand, we have to pay to play. And it's only getting more expensive. So that's why I'm a huge fan, Joe, of build up your social media following and build up your email and text list. If you do that, every time you have a new listing that's coming on the market that you want to promote, every time you have a new piece of content you're producing, it's getting in front of more people. Same effort, outsized impact. That doesn't exist with any other marketing channel, Joe, which is why social media is singular in that sense.
Well, and this is like Joe Taylor Group Agent Attraction 101. We'll sit down with an agent that comes to our office and they're like, we talk about lead distribution. Like, we're going to provide some opportunities for you to close deals with people you don't know, or we're going to give you some leads. And they'll say, well, where did the leads come from? And I will look them straight in the face and say, from your sphere of influence. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you're not marketing, we are. So we pop into your sphere of influence and we get your friends and family to comment on our content and we engage with them and then we sell them a house. So if you've noticed over the years, your sphere of influence are now buying houses with other people. They're buying them with us because we have proactive outreach and you don't. And it's like some people walk away discouraged, but it's just true. I'm like, my SOI is maxed out. Our leads we generate are from other people's SOI.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know what reminds me of, Joe, is like one of the things Peter Drucker has this great line. Peter Drucker is sort of the godfather of modern management as we know it. Talks about a business, and I think this is where one of the going back to the very beginning of this conversation, talking about first time founders and second time founders. One of the things I learned about building businesses, and something I've tried to apply to the businesses that I'm building, is that there are only two things that matter, which are marketing and innovation. Those are the two. Everything else in the business it needs to exist to facilitate those two things. And so real estate has been an industry that has constantly been disrupted or attempted to be disrupted by everybody and their brother. And the reason why is because we haven't disrupted ourselves. And so part of the reason is with real estate, we have to think about this is like we're in this really interesting.
Did my phone just go away?
Oh, there we go. Someone's unmuted, Joe.
I got it.
Thank you, Amy.
It's no one when people talk and they're unmuted, it's never anything great. I want to hear something crazy, and it's always someone talking to their dog and stuff. Go ahead, Joe.
I know. Well,
Joe wants the dirt.
Yeah, so somebody fight with somebody unmuted or something.
Well, it reminds me of like I remember the very first webinar I did, like in real estate. I had this great mentor. Her name's Linda Davis. She since passed away a couple of years ago. She worked for Remax. And if you guys, anyone in New England probably remembers Linda Davis. She was kind of the OG. Yeah, I know, Sonny, you remember Linda Davis. She was like a mentor of mine. She helped me understand this industry, someone who didn't sell real estate. And I remember I was on a Zoom call And just like this one, it was actually GoToWebinar at the time. And I remember I was talking, and someone in the chat just goes, "This is bad." That was the only comment I got for the 1 hour was, "This is bad." So you got to start somewhere. So what I was saying though is this idea of come back to this idea of innovation for a second. Marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation. Right now, the opportunity is when you look at what companies are doing outside of real estate, whether it's Open Door or like there's got a dozen of them that exist now. Like they're coming up with creative solutions to help the customer solve problems. You know, buying a house quickly or financing your down payment in a new way or creating assumable mortgages. I think one of the interesting things as an agent, if I was an agent right now and I really wanted to absolutely differentiate myself, I would become absolutely obsessed, Joe, with finding off market deals.
Yeah.
If I were looking like, what's the one thing I can do in this world where we're now headed towards like the bifurcation of the Compass Anywhere and then the Zillows of the world, the XPS of the world, the Reels of the world. Like now that we're heading this bifurcation between open and closed, I like all I know to be true is if I can be in the position where as an agent, I am absolutely obsessed with finding my clients off market deals, and that becomes like my main value proposition.
What,
You're going to create a compelling reason why someone should hire you over every single other agent in your market.
which is why, as well, though, I mean, that's why I've been obsessed with Facebook marketing for so long. Like when
Yep,
people ask me about Facebook, I'm always like, well, they're like, are they like Zillow leads? And I'm like, they are Zillow leads that are 3 months from hopping on Zillow. And like I've
sure.
always been obsessed with grabbing them, almost causing them to react to what I do, grabbing them before they proactively go on to Zillow or realtor.com and then get assigned to an agent, whatever. It's like I'm obsessed with that concept of finding people before they themselves put themselves into that marketing blender.
Hmm. A great line I heard from this woman named Joanna Wiebe who says, objections exist even if you don't talk about them. And right now, the objection that we have in real estate is people think we're all the same. People think there's no differentiation. And by the way, I'm not talking about your SOI. This is a quick sidebar, Joe. If you want to be successful in real estate, you got to learn how to sell to strangers. The fact that you get 90% of your business from your SOI is not a flex, it's a weakness. It means that you have not figured out how to convert strangers into customers. That is a superpower. That is a skill that you can develop that can actually help you. Whatever that glass ceiling is above your production, this is how you take that next level. Being able
Because
to sell.
it comes with the acknowledgement that other people, like if you're not good at turning strangers into clients, you're just the master of SOI. Other people who are becoming really good at turning strangers into clients are going to poach your sphere of influence. Like there's just
Mhm.
not a world where it doesn't happen to you. So it's like this, like it's a world of poaching, right? I mean, it just happens.
Well, this is a hard reality that I had to learn. When people say something to you that offends you, it almost always offends you because there's some underlying truth to it.
Right,
You
right.
know, and I say that when people that you respect, people that you love, people that you care about, when someone like that says something that offends you, it almost always is some underlying issue you have. I remember one time Chris said something to me that really, really pissed me off. He said, he said,
No, Chris would never piss anybody off.
he said, well, gee, this is probably 10 years ago now. He goes, hey, Jimmy, I don't think people like you as he's talking about our employees, to be clear. So we have like, at this point, 45, 50 employees, whatever it was. He's like, I don't think people like you as much as you think they do. Right. And the reason I remember that it's ingrained in my brain, which is this idea that like I don't have a lot of emotional range, right? I'm a hard driving manager. And like I'm not a dick, to be clear, but I have really high expectations and like I have zero tolerance for people who just make things harder. Like I call them the Zoom warriors. They just show up to Zoom calls to basically participate and just don't do shit after it's all said and done. Like you don't need those in an organization. But the reason I bring it up is because it stuck with me for a long time, right? Obviously. But it reminded me, like, and I was okay with that. Like, I had to be okay with people not liking me in the organization, but being willing to sort of work with me. Um, your SOI doesn't like you as much as you think they do. Your SOI isn't as loyal as you think they are. They are one phone call away
Yeah.
from dumping you. And we don't have, this is not my opinion. This is a fact. Look at the repeat, usage rate in real estate. Repeat transaction rate. It is somewhere in the low teens at this point. And that's only going to get worse. So the fact that 90% of your business comes from your SOI, it's not a flex, it's a weakness. And that's okay. I mean, like, it's a foundation you could build on, but you've got to figure out how to develop, how to turn your happiest customers into advocates and referral business, and being able to basically sell to strangers. Because Joe, there are only really two constraints to growth in real estate. Putting aside operations for a second, it's only two constraints. The first constraint is, like, let's say in this case here, Tyson, as an example, let's say I sent Tyson on 10 listing appointments in the next 30 days. And let's say Tyson was able to convert 2 of those listing appointments into customers. But the other 8 people actually went ahead and relisted with Amy. Okay. Well, the constraint that Tyson has is Tyson is bad at closing. So if Tyson wants to accelerate growth in his business, he just has to figure out how to close better, which means he has to prepare better, which means he has to show up with more value. He has to be able to convince and persuade someone that he's the obvious choice, right? That's constraint number 1. Constraint number 2 is Tyson doesn't have any listing appointments on his calendar. He isn't talking to enough people to even get to the kitchen table. He's having maybe 1 or 2. And so maybe he's closing half of those. Well, that constraint there is conversations. It's either conversations or closing. Those are the 2 constraints in the business. 95% of people fall into the latter. They fall into the fact that they're not having enough conversations, right, that are leading to appointments. It's not the fact that they're closing at a ridiculously low rate. It's the fact that they're never even getting to the kitchen table. And so this is the reason why you can't just sell to your SOI. You've got to figure out ways to sell to strangers if you want to solve that first real constraint within your business, Joe.
So, Jimmy, you've spent years, you spent decades with real estate agents. Like, whenever anyone asks me about Jimmy, I'm like, dude, he's so good because he's in our industry, but he's not of our industry. Like, you're just, but I agree with you. In my opinion, the problem why people are struggling is because they don't have enough conversations. But I'm also a nature versus nurture person, where I'm just not sure that someone who doesn't enjoy, like someone who got into real estate so they could sell their friends that they do yoga with houses, are going to be really surprised when they find out that people at their yoga studio are buying houses or just doing it with other people. And it's like, some agents just don't want to have conversations. Like, this is a hard question, but is there a litmus test? How do you tell an agent, like, hey, if you aren't doing, like what advice would you have for an agent? Is like, man, I get through conversations so that I hope my friends and family call me and I can easily buy a house or sell them a house. But I don't want, like, sorry, this is really long, but like on our team, we get people who are like, oh yeah, no, we'll make the calls. And then we spend freaking months arguing with them about, like, you're just not hitting your conversation goal. And it's like, at what point would you advise team leaders to go, like, yeah, that's just not your person?
Yeah, if we armchair psychologist here for a second, and we look at the reason why people don't follow up or don't make the phone calls, they will almost always point to some type of logical excuse. Time management, maybe they've done it before, it hasn't worked. Maybe they're super busy right now and they're going to do it next week, right? There's always some logical excuse. And the underlying truth, this is from the chief operating officer of Stripe, and I love this quote. She said, someone could find her name because I want to give her credit. She's like, she goes, say the thing that you don't think can be said. That's one of our principles at Stripe. Say the thing that you don't think can be said. Now, that's interesting because you're like, if you're talking to an agent on your team, which is, what's the thing that they don't want to say, right? But the actually is likely the underlying issue why they're not doing the job. And what it is that they're either embarrassed, they feel like they don't have any confidence, they don't know what to say, they feel like they're annoying people. And so we assume that they've already come to terms with those realities, and that the reason they're making the phone calls is because they're not time blocking. But the reality is there's some underlying story that they've told themselves that they're preventing them from actually doing the job. And that story is the crux of why they're stuck in that position. Now, I'm going to give you the three most important words in sales. These are three words that even in marketing we live by. Marketing is, I love the latest definition of marketing I've heard recently is marketing is a transfer of enthusiasm. Thank you, Amy. Claire Hughes Johnson. Marketing is a transfer of enthusiasm. So the three most important words in sales. This is how I think about prospecting. This is how I help our clients at Listing Leads. Why we become so successful with our prospecting scripts is that we live by this idea. Three words: bring something new. Every time I reach out, every time I follow up, every time I'm touching base with somebody, I am bringing something new. So if I am an agent right now who's, let's say, going back to Tyson, I'm trying to get 10 appointments on Tyson's calendar, and Tyson's going to Philip. Hey, Philip, just checking in, seeing how things are going. We're entering the spring market. I want to see if you have any thoughts on maybe putting your house on the market, right? There's nothing of value. It's all fluff. Just checking in, just following up, just circling back. The consumer doesn't want that. Bring something new. And the way I would think about this is through the context of stats and stories. Those are your two kind of levers you can pull. And so number one being stories. So Tyson just held an open house this past weekend. And let's say he had 15 people come through. That's a story. Philip just got off a phone with a potential buyer who's motivated, who's been looking for 6 months, hasn't found, anyone to buy yet. That's a story. Hey, inventory levels are actually up 16% in my market. That's a stat, right? Interest rates now just hit 6.45%. That's a stat. These are things that are changing in the market that I can use as the catalyst to reach out. So as an example,
As opposed to like, hey guys, I've been in Vegas forever. I'm a Marine, former Marine. I love my clients. Call me, which is what so many people do. You're saying
yep,
the story should be stories, not necessarily just you talking about yourself all the time.
it's stats or stories. You can intertwine them, bring them together, but think about all the stats. Stats is market trends, inventory
Yeah.
levels, interest rates, right? Record sales, stats. Stories like client interaction. Now let me give you a script. By the way, this is a script I'm going to give you right now for everyone that this got two, like I test all of our stuff with clients. This got two listings totaling $1 million in GCI signed listings last Thursday. Okay. So this is working literally right now. This is working literally right now. It opens up, and you can do this as a text or an email, but I would recommend doing it as a text. It says, "Hey, Joe, random question. I just left an open house and we had X people come through in Y hours. So we had 7 people come through in 3 hours. I'm curious, if your house was worth more than you think, would that change anything for you right now?" And so what I'm doing in that script here, right? Hey, Joe, random question. I just left this open house that had 7 people come through in 3 hours. I don't even care what that story is, Joe. I don't care if it's, hey, I just hung out with my buyer who's looking to make a move right now. They've been looking for 6 months. Or I just talked to a seller who's actually going to be putting their house on the market in May. I'm curious if your house was worth more than you think, would that change anything for you right now? This agent, 117 people she sent it out to. She got 2 listings totaling $1 million.
Email or text message?
She sent it as an email. Just emailed. One
Okay.
email to 117 people in her database. Okay. And I'll tell you what's really interesting about this. This uses a technique that Chase Hughes calls, which is taking 2 Legos but not connecting them. So if you guys don't know Chase Hughes he's become kind of like, I refer to him as I would refer to him as the CIA version of Chris Voss. is what it is, right? Like if Chris
Yeah.
Voss is the FBI negotiator, Chase Hughes is like CIA interrogation guy. If
Yeah.
you guys don't know Chase Hughes, he's absolutely a must follow. It's Chase Hughes, Huges. He talked about this idea. He goes, what you want to do is you want to basically put two bits of information side by side, but don't connect them. He goes, don't connect the Legos. So, Joe, if I tell you something about the market being hot, and then I ask you a question without actually connecting those two dots, in your mind, now you are
You
connecting those
connect the
two dots.
dots. Yeah. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, Joe, now all of a sudden it's your idea. Now all of a sudden you're the person who who's participating in the conversation. And so that's what we're basically doing is we're throwing a stat out there about the market being hot without saying it's hot, without saying, hey, it's a hot market, right? It's like hey, like you're actually seeing, a 13% rise in the number of new listings hitting the market compared to last year. I'm not saying it's a hot market, but then I'm asking a question that's like, basically saying, getting them to imagine, okay, what they would sell their house at, as an example, but I'm not connecting those two dots. It's called the Legos script, and it's so effective because now it's their idea. Now they're saying to themselves, "Oh, this is a hot market." So I would go back to my earlier point because you asked the question, Joe, and I know we're running out of time. You asked the question earlier: what's preventing agents from basically doing the things they already know work, what's preventing them from actually doing the things that are actually working? And the underlying reason is they don't know what to say, they don't want to be annoying, and they're embarrassed. But they feel like they shouldn't be because that's their job as an agent to do this. So if they want to solve that problem, no amount of motivation, no amount of dashboards or accountability calls is going to solve that problem. I'm sorry, guys, it ain't going to work. It's temporary at best. You've got to give them the skills. This may be for yourself personally. The skill is find something new, bring something new, stat or story that is relevant that you think is going to help people, and bring that to the conversation. Now, all of a sudden, following up feels like more like customer service, Joe, than a sales call is the point.
Well, and it gives hope to team leaders, right? Like maybe the agents you're working with on your team aren't unmotivated. Maybe they're not kind of lying to themselves about their desire to be a successful real estate agent. If you can give them principles that they can use to create conversations, maybe you're going to see their conversations thrive, which is awesome.
Every
Guys,
single person
go
that's
ahead.
listening to this, every single agent that's listening, whether you're an agent or a team leader, needs to be getting Chris Smith and Jimmy Mackin's emails because they are rammed with skill-based analogies, storytelling, things that can be used on a daily basis for these conversations. And if you just implement even what's coming through in their emails, you would actually like see a higher level of conversion in your conversations. Guaranteed, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy, give everyone kind of a high level. How do they connect with Jimmy? What are you working on right now that people should be, a part of? Where we've got 3 minutes left, so tell everyone how they get a little bit more Jimmy in their life.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'll give you guys some insight. So, by the way, people saying they love our emails, which we really appreciate. I mean, we send a lot of them. To be clear, we send a lot of emails, and people are like, aren't you afraid of unsubscribes? No, I am not. Like, go ahead, unsubscribe, because there's a direct proportion between me sending lots of emails and me making lots of money. So trust me, we're going to keep sending them, right, without fail. And that's the way you should think about email marketing is like this is how you increase your distribution is by getting in their inbox more frequently. So there's two things that I'm working on right now. Two things I think are relevant for this audience, in this community. The first is at Listing Leads. One of the really interesting things we've done is we actually have taken our best strategies, Joe, and we have begun to build AI tools so it makes it easier for people to execute those ideas. And this is like, I wanted to show you guys this because everyone in this call should probably be familiar with our friend Sharon's deal of the week as an example, right? We're all familiar with that concept.
Yep.
So we have this tool called AI Pro. We've taken, you guys can all see my screen now. We've taken as an example this concept of the deal of the week, and we built an app for our customers. We're releasing this month. So if I come in here, I just type in like 03032, I'll go ahead and just like add that as an option. That's in Auburn, New Hampshire. I'll come in here, I'll add like a few more zip codes. Works best when you kind of have like 3 or 4. Cool. I now can go ahead and find the very best deal within, Auburn and Manchester and Litchfield and Dumbarton as an example. And we're going to use AI to basically get all the information, scrape it, analyze it, identify what is the very best deal in the market. Now, what's going to happen at this point is it's actually going to begin to work on generating, okay, hey, this home here is the very best deal. 25 Riverview Circle in Litchfield. It's got 41 saves compared to the other homes. It's the hottest deal in this market. Now I can go actually build a campaign around that deal, and it will begin to generate a sales letter, an email, a text, a call script. And so we built this technology. We do this, by the way, Joe, if you look on the left-hand side, for the ZMA, the Magic Buyer, the Cannonball, all that. It's doing all of this. And so the thing I'm trying to convince people to do now, one of the big learnings I had around this is I realized back in like 3 months ago, it wasn't willpower, it was workflows. There are strategies that I would consider to be accelerators in your business. I mean, these are strategies that absolutely work. ZMA, like I ran an experiment, Joe, the largest listing attraction experiment in the history of real estate, 3,000 agents, $20 billion in signed business in 100 days. This was in 23 when the market was really bad. Okay. The ZMA works. 11 ZMAs equals 1 listing. Magic Buyer campaign. We've talked about that extensively. People have run, Amy knows this because Amy's been doing this for a while. Magic Buyer campaigns work. Expired listings are so super hot right now. Deal of the week. How many times do we have to basically look at John? 2 listings from 10 text. These core workflows, what we've done at Listing Leads is we basically just built out the AI tools to make the execution of like winning ideas work. And if you guys want to check more about that, it's actually available. If you go to listingleads.com/AI, you can actually sign up for a membership. Now, Joe, let me give one quick disclaimer here. We're doing a training list tomorrow too. So if you guys sign up, I'll add you there. It's listingleads.com/AI. But before you do that, just make sure, because it's $2,500 for the year, Joe. It's all of Listing Leads that. Just make sure you use the coupon code LAUNCH5 when you check out, okay? Because we'll give you guys $1,000 off for the launch as being part of the RocketFuel community. We'll give you guys $1,000 off. But if you guys go there, go to listingleads.com/AI. If you sign up, use the coupon code. And if you do sign up today, just make sure that you are on the training tomorrow, because I'll get you guys trained on how to use these tools to actually like execute them. So you don't just sign up for software that you actually never use. So that's the big thing we're working on right now, Joe, is like AIifying all of our best ideas in Listing Leads.
So give everybody that again. It's listingleads.com.
Yeah, we dropped it in the chat. Make sure you guys use the code that Jimmy's sharing to give an incentive, LAUNCH5.
That's right. Yeah, LAUNCH5, and we'll give you guys $1,000 off on that one. And we're doing a live training on this tomorrow, Amy. So okay. I'll make sure anyone who's signing up today, we'll make sure that you guys get access to the training tomorrow. I'll invite you into the training live, so you have access to that, and I'll get you trained up on the tools tomorrow, so you're ready to rock and roll.
Is it working in Canada?
Amy, why you got to ask me that?
Things were going so well.
Things are going so well.
Jason actually asked it in the chat, so I'm asking on his behalf, even though I was thinking it.
Listen, I Listing Leads has a Canadian solution, but I love you guys in Canada. Two of my best employees are Canadians. Okay, I actually am eligible, Amy, for Canadian citizenship. You know that because my mom's side of the family is all French Canadian. So
and two of your OG Curaytor clients, Jordan and I.
Well, my guy Jordan, and of course you. The answer is no. Unfortunately, the answer is no. It's because you guys just don't have the same level of data that we do in the U.S. But listen, you guys are used to this. You guys are used to this. I know. All right. But
it's got to be coming with all the AIs and scrapers. I mean, someone's got to be building something that'll work.
We are very much looking forward to it. Well, listen, I appreciate all you guys. If you
Jimmy, thank you so much,
Jimmy. We appreciate you as always.
Guys, if you're not following Jimmy Mackin, you're not serious about your real estate business. I wish I could say it another way. You're not a serious operator if you're not following Jimmy. So like, there's your litmus test.
Or Chris.
If you're not following Chris and Jimmy, like, you're not serious about business, which is fine. There's a lot of things people can do with it for a living. but I don't think real estate could be one of them if you're not following Chris and Jimmy. I wish I could say that in a kinder way. Jimmy, thank you so much, man. I learned so much today.
Yeah,
I
he's
always do, which is why
okay.
we. Yeah,
Joe,
go ahead. Aim.
you gotta give me 30 seconds. 30
Go ahead.
seconds is all I'm asking for. Let's get that up on the screen, Leilani. So guys, we have been bringing in the best of the best, as you know, to take the stage for Rocket Fuel. But we are an incredible community full of agents and team leaders that are absolutely dominating in their markets, and we want to hear from you. So if you've had something that you're doing really well when it comes to leadership, technology, open houses, scripting, I mean, you name it, marketing, branding, whatever it is, we want to give you the Rocket Fuel platform to either speak on a panel or to run a session. So if you would like to apply to be one of our Rocket Fuel guest speakers and just really bring value and serve the Rocket Fuel United community, the QR code on the screen is your opportunity to do so. And we will bring this up again next week because I know I'm like speed going through this, but we'll remind you again next week. But that QR code is there. We'll also share it in our follow-up email today that goes out within 24 hours with a recap of everything that Jimmy talked about and a link to the recording. We'll also include this QR code. So if you would like to apply, we would love to hear from you.